Hi. Two of us are here. We're waiting for Abby. We are as real life as it gets, as you can probably see, but I'm gonna put the computer. Oh, I'm putting that's okay, you could keep it soft. It's real life.
Hi.
I am putting the laptop with the webcam on a high chair. Yes, I am,
Yes,
because
yes.
this is what real
Real
people
life.
do. Real life. We got an adorable Fox high chair. How cute is that? We totally need to
And
get
no
into
relations to Fox Network.
we totally need to be in the business of like product affiliate marketing, because we are constantly talking about products. But anyway, here we are. There's an awesome spread on the table and more to come. Sarah has been cooking up a storm and it smells fantastic in here. And I, as usual, just stopped at the store. But we have this amazing new French bakery in town, and that is
Really?
where I went. Yes. And naturally, because everybody's got to be miserable, people are complaining about the prices, and people are like, oh, well, let's see how long they last. And it's like, oh, for God's sake.
It's a French bakery.
Right. It's a French bakery. How is this a bad thing? Go have a cup of freaking coffee for $4 and relax. Anyway, it's really good. I hope they do well. It's nice for all of us to have things like that to go to. And I just wish people could be happier. But I guess that's too much to ask for. Anyway.
Happy is definitely too much to ask.
Apparently so. Or at least not malcontented all the time. Good Lord. Anyway, we have amazing looking fruit and some pepper wrapped in prosciutto and little muffin things and chips and wine and chicken and cheese and
No chicken, fish.
fish. I'm sorry. I should have realized that. And I did get us little baby desserts because we've earned it.
We need it.
Let me show everybody those because they're so pretty. So if you're local, the name of the place is Pascal and Kathy Bakery. It's right on 10th and Federal, directly south of LA Fitness. So, you can join the witness protection program and not let the people at LA Fitness know that you are on your way into a French bakery. Because really, everybody should have a French bakery every once in a while. I'm going to put these on a plate so you guys can see them because they're so cute. Oh my goodness, are they cute? So just one little tartlet for each of us. Let me see if I can get you to see this. Oh, so I don't want to drop them. Anyway, so pretty. There's a blueberry, a raspberry, and a passion fruit, which looks amazing. I'll put them back in the box. Serica is Swiffering. We could call her Swiffering Serica. Because everything's got to be clean, right? We got a little one running around this house, so want to make sure the floors are as clean as possible. Abby is on her way. She's a little behind.
Technically, she's on time.
Technically, she's on time.
We
just need to give up and say sometime Wednesday, we will be streaming.
After 11.
Right, sometime after 11 and before dark.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Serica. We will be streaming. That's what we're gonna say. So anyway, sorry for the running around.
We said 11-ish on.
We said 11:30-ish, but
Yeah.
we've blown even past that today. We've exceeded our own expectations. It's 11:40. Whatever, life happens, right? What are you gonna do? Anyway, so here we are. I'm discombobulated even more than usual. Serica seems to have her act together.
When long as I'm moving around, I'm not thinking about where I'm together.
Oh, you know what? I love that. That's really good advice.
So I just keep moving and yeah.
I like that. And I think that's part of my thing, right? As long as I'm doing, I'm not thinking.
Yeah.
So funny. Somebody said something recently, I don't know what it was.
This fly is gonna worry my nerves.
Whether you shower or shower enough or something, and the person said, well, if I'm not showering, I'm not alone with my thoughts. And I'm like, oh, I get that.
If you're not showering.
Right, then I'm not alone with I'm not taking the time to be alone with my thoughts, which I don't
Wait,
want
so
to be
you're
alone.
not showering?
Right, because while you're in the shower, you're alone with your thoughts.
Okay, so what are we doing to clean ourselves?
Right. Well, that's another issue. But I thought to myself, like, I get it, and I have the radio on when I'm in the shower.
Well, that could be an indication of depression.
Yes.
If you're not
totally
willing to be by yourself.
Yep.
In your thoughts.
Yep.
That's like a little.
Right. Well, and I have been struggling with this since June.
Yeah.
I have to have something.
That's understandable.
Well, that's what I feel like. This is like a situational thing that will eventually resolve itself.
Yeah, I'm on a fly hunt.
You are on a fly hunt. So, we kill frogs, we kill flies, we are, we have a belief that there are certain pests in the world that we need to be free of.
Yeah.
Let's see, where is that fly?
Are a part of my...
So I have a fly swatter. I don't even know why I bought it, probably at the dollar store a bazillion years ago.
At the old house, I had 3 of them.
Well, the funniest thing is Emma loves that fly swatter for no reason, not even to kill flies. She just loves the fly swatter.
Yeah.
So I have a little basket with shoes by the front door, and that fly swatter lives in there every time she comes over.
I'm surprised I don't have some trauma from fly swatters, because if my grandmother was literally that fly swatter was a reckoning.
Right? Why should I have trauma from shoes?
Yeah.
And just not wear shoes.
Oh
my goodness.
I don't know. Did I move my phone?
Maybe. Is this your phone?
That's okay.
Oh, and she got out the Marula cream.
It was really good.
It's so good. It's so good. And I should not be having any of this, but whatever. They tell you in Noom, just say, oh well, and move on. Yeah, Noom is very big on there is no should and should not. There are no bad foods. Everything is moderation.
Everything is moderation.
This is
the most Wednesdays when this is the most I eat.
During
the day, I don't eat like that. I've cut back so much because with the baby, I don't have time to sit down and eat like that. So I'm literally eating finger foods. I do chicken tenders.
I graze. I eat all day though. I eat all day. Foods. I ate when I think I mentioned this before. I ate when I was in labor. I did. I am never not hungry ever.
I don't get me wrong. Food is a love language for me.
Yeah.
And I think with the baby and stuff now, it's just become one of those things where I'm eating to keep from passing out.
Yes. Well, that's what I always do. The problem is I'm always hungry. Oh, literally always hungry. So I grab the spoonful of peanut butter, the finger, whatever I could grab without sitting.
Yeah, and that's it. But I don't like to eat on the move. So whatever I eat, I have to sit down.
Which is good.
So but it's not going to be something I need to sit down for 15, 20, 30 minutes.
Right.
It's really I'm in just a few 5 minutes. I'm in and out with it, and it's like that.
I used to laugh that we all consumed when the kids are little bit old enough to sit at the table, right? We probably all consumed 500 extra calories a day, just finishing what was on their plates because we were still hungry and we didn't have time to really, you know what I mean? And I'd go from the table to the sink and I'd be just, eating whatever was left.
Yeah. I think that's all of us. You had to eat. I think our parents, that generation, my grandmother, we had to eat everything on our plate because there was always this feeling of some kids somewhere else wish they had.
And I think your grandparents might be, maybe your grandparents might be my parents. I don't know. My parents were Depression era.
Mm-hmm.
So, came up in the 30s, 20s and 30s. And there was also that deprivation isn't the right word. There's a word, that scarcity, because you didn't know if you were going to get more.
Right.
And that stayed with them, their whole lives.
Right.
So that's very formative.
And that was it. There was very few leftovers, but leftovers were a meal.
Yes.
It was a meal.
I love leftovers.
It was a meal. It wasn't
I was a super picky eater, and I would absolutely starve over eating something I didn't like. I was a real pain in the ass. And then there was one night, can I tell you this? was a Sunday night at the Ed Sullivan Show used to air, and he had this puppet, Topo Gigio, who I love Topo Gigio.
Is
But
that
I was-
Italian?
He's, I guess he was. Anyway, I was never allowed to stay up late enough to watch Topo Gigio. Probably came on at like 7:30 or something. And we were sitting at the table, and it was time for Ed Sullivan, and my father wasn't going to be deprived of Ed Sullivan, so it got turned on, and I had this plate of chicken and something, and whatever it was, I just couldn't deal with it. And so I took a bite, because my mother had it.
Mm-hmm.
She was like, "You're going to eat that, Don Maria. You are not leaving this table." So I put a piece of chicken in my mouth. And I'm like, Topo Gigio, it's gonna come on. Maybe I can see it. I chewed that one piece of chicken for 30 minutes. It was grotesque. And by then, I think I did see Topo Gigio, but now I had this lump of, it was so gross.
Oh,
and I'm like, and she was over, like, she didn't care if I choked on that chicken at that point, because she had so enraged. And I went to grab my milk to wash it down, and her iron fist came down on mine, and she's like, "And you're not washing it down. You are not. You are going to swallow that chicken the way it is."
Oh, Lord.
Oh, it was, oh my God. Yeah, when my mother got
Well,
mad,
did
she
she
got
cook
mad.
it?
I'm sorry?
Did she cook it?
Yes.
Okay, so it may have been an insult to the chef.
Well, I'm sure it was an insult to many things. But when I pushed her that, like, she just didn't take shit like that. And yeah, she was beyond, like, she'd had it. I was swallowing that chicken if I choked on it.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think I was blessed. I'm blessed that I was raised in a family on my mom and my dad, my grandmother's on my dad's side. I never met my grandparents on my mom's side. They passed away.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I was blessed to be raised in a family where everybody's good cooks.
Yes.
So,
which is so nice, right?
Now there was some foods that I just wasn't like. I didn't like black eyed peas and okra the way, because the okra were slimy. So I didn't like it, but I knew other people liked it because it was all gone. So I didn't have to worry about eating it because I knew somebody was like, the adults liked it. It was definitely, I think, more of a delicacy. And I was watching this documentary. I started watching this docuseries, High on the Hog. And it's talking about the foods of the African diaspora that followed Black people with soul food and where it all come from. And okra is from the African diaspora. So it was one of the things that came with Black people throughout the transatlantic slave trade. Okra was that came over, okra, rice, yams, things. And I'm like looking at it, I'm like, oh, but I was wondering, like, why every Sunday was it okra? My grandma, every Sunday it was okra. It was okra in the beans, okra in the tomatoes. It was just okra was always. So when I saw that, I was like, it makes sense. And then my grandmother, my father's side, my grandmother, they're Geechee, and that is from South Carolina.
Yes, I was gonna say,
Yeah, so they have a dialect that I just grew up with, but I didn't know it was a culture.
And there was that kids show years ago that my kids loved, Gullah Gullah Island.
Yes,
love that show.
But I never knew.
Yeah,
it was a thing, but now it makes sense. So even my love for cooking, I feel my ancestors, my grandmother, and people like those women who were cooks in the family. It's definitely a thing, and it's always a compliment to me when my kids like my food. Like I always say, like, how was it? Now my Zion, my baby girl, because she's gonna be a great cook. She's reminds me of myself, but she's the one that's like, I'm could a little need more spice, or she will critique my food like that's that.
Funny. But so Greeks, I mean, we are all about food, right? Greeks cook; it's what we do, and I used to do a lot more cooking, and I think what it was.
Share that link.
Okay.
Where is it on your page?
It's on the YouTube. So if you go to the YouTube, you can comment.
Go to YouTube.
The link is in our text messages.
There we go.
And I think it was 20 some years of having to have meals for the kids that I'm like, oh no, no. And once in a very rare while now I will cook, but I think that was it. I prefer baking now because I don't know why, but whatever. I just don't feel like cooking anymore, like ever, ever. And I always liked even like, I like cooking for myself. I like eating by myself. I like going to restaurants by myself. I don't care. I don't have to be with people. It's not even that. I just can't be bothered, I guess is what it is. You know, and everybody laughs at me, but what always amazed me about my mom and my aunts, you could go to their house like anytime with or without notice, and they could whip up like pretty much anything, and they never ran out of things, and they never had expired stuff in their house. I never understood how that worked.
My grandmother, I don't understand. My great grandmother, where we lived, where my grandmother lived, you know, my family, my father's side of the family, farmers, very much.
Like my mother's father, yes.
Right, very much into the land, and growing and touching and organic before organic became a word, you know. So it was a treat if we got a Whopper.
Right. Oh,
it
was
a treat.
No, it was a big thing.
It was a treat.
That was a thing.
Like,
yeah, no, we did not eat places like that very often at all. No.
Listen, my great grandmother had there was a shed outside by her garden because she stayed in her garden up to like 2 years.
Oh, I remember you telling me. Yes.
But she had a shed, and in the shed there was this deep freezer that literally was from that wall to this wall.
Wow.
And it was filled with beans and meats and vegetables. My God. And for the longest time, I didn't know that they were actually going to the slaughterhouse.
Right.
I didn't know that.
Right.
And when I picked, I was like, so where y'all getting the animals? And it was so, like, I just didn't, because now I would go stay with my grandmother. I stayed a few years, but I would go with my brother. We would go for the summer.
Oh,
and
nice.
We would stay for the summer, and I'm really grateful for that upbringing because it gave me two different worlds to see.
Yes, which I think is so important.
It was like it opened my eyes to a lot of things where we would cry to go, like, we don't want to go. It ain't okay.
Right.
But then we would cry to leave because we have all the cousins would come.
Yes.
I can remember we had 2 buckets. We would take 2 buckets. My cousins who grew up down there, they knew like the lay of the land and where everything, however, and we would go into the woods, pack a lunch. My girl would pack sandwiches and stuff, and my 2 cousins would have these 2 buckets and a piece of like wood. And I would want, like, where we going? And somebody had a blanket, and we're going, and we go and lay out the blanket and literally turn the 2 buckets over and put the piece of wood over there. That's your table.
Right.
Or your bench.
Right.
And I was
resourceful, right? Like, right? I know.
It was
so funny.
Oh my God. I can remember that being like, so like the feeling of being able to enjoy my childhood.
Yes. I was thinking about that yesterday and about the fact that there are so many people who don't have that, right? And that one of the things that has always sustained me is to be able in my head to go back to some of those childhood experiences because I have them. And how important that is for people. I think it's a real refuge in my mind.
Yeah.
You know, and I was thinking about this, I don't know, a few months ago, like sometimes it feels kind of like a trap. Like I thought of it as the quicksand of nostalgia because sometimes you can kind of sink in it, you know? Like, okay, so I watched the Astronaut Wives Club, which was based on a book, which some people say is, you know, she would claim is very close to what it was actually like. It was the Mercury program in the 60s, the very first like part of the space race in the early to mid 60s. Anyway, I didn't read the book, which I do want to do. But it was on ABC. It only lasted like 10 episodes. And what I didn't know until I saw this, and this part is true, the NASA and the government had this, it was very important for them, to them, from a PR perspective, that the astronauts and their families were like highlighted and showcased to the rest of the country to see like what we were doing.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually ended up with like a Life magazine reporter and photographer embedded with them, like almost it was the first reality show.
Mm-hmm.
And they were hounded by cameras and press, and one of them was married to a divorcee, and they couldn't let anybody know that she was divorced because it would mark the space program. It was crazy. It was fascinating. Anyway, it was a horrible time to be a woman. It was a horrible time to be Black. It was a horrible time to be so many things, right? But I don't, and I can't understand why. I watched that show and I had this desperate need to be 5 years old again and be in that show. Even knowing how bad things were for so many people, including women, you know, so I can count myself. But there was just something about it that it was like I was drowning in nostalgia. Like, I want us to have a space program that everybody's excited by.
Mm-hmm.
I want us to feel like our future is limitless.
Mm-hmm.
I want us to be at the beginning of the civil rights movement when people really thought things were going to change overnight. You know what I mean? Like, and maybe that's what it is that optimism. But I think about this a lot. Like I watch the women on the show who are so, there's a couple of them that the relationship is more equal. But for the most part, they're so controlled. Their lives are so proscribed by the standards of the day and by their husbands. Like, one of them is like, you know, when they're that first crew, the Mercury 7 is disbanding, you know, she's like, well, you know, Wally took the job in Denver, so I guess we're leaving. And it, like, to me, that's like unheard of now. I mean, I guess there are people who still live like that. I mean, you gotta, if one person works and that's where the job is, you go. But this idea that like there was not even a consultation. You know what I mean? Like, because he had the money and the control, and that was just how it was.
And that was the time.
Yeah, and so I think about this, and I'm like, why are you so nostalgic for that? Like, that's bizarre, and I can't figure it out.
Well, I think regardless of, you know, the external things that were going on, what was happening inside of you was peace and happiness.
Yeah, you know,
and
that's a really good point.
That's not that doesn't say, like, even when you mentioned about the, you know, you just said it, when the civil rights and different things, to some people that they may feel like, well, why would you want to, you know, experience that? That was it is a personal feeling.
Yeah.
And it doesn't require, you know,
that's true. That's a really good point.
A second opinion on it, or
that's
validation.
That's a really good point. And you know what? That's interesting. I really like that, what you said, and I think that part of my sort of general discomfort with things now is that in many arenas, like, it's not even a safe space, like I feel this is, right, to say, I loved my fucking childhood. Because even, no matter when you grew up, you could have grown up 10 years ago. And now I see people who are like, well, like, how dare you, you know, show your entitlement that you have a good childhood. And that just enrages me. It's like, look, it's not my fault that you had a bad childhood. So the fact, it's not a zero sum. Right. But it's not a zero sum game. Well, the fact that I had a good childhood somehow takes something away from you. You're right, because it's personal.
It's personal.
I also think,
and we gotta give room. We gotta give room to people, even during horrific times.
And maybe especially during
horrific times, we have to give peace to and space to people who were able to find joy in those moments.
Yes.
Like, because, think about it. If everybody just was like, okay, because we all going through this, and nobody tried to continue that feeling
Right,
of
imagine
joy
if there
or
was no
spread
joy.
their
Yes,
joy.
imagine if there were no
What?
joy.
Like, no.
How awful that would be.
No, like, I mean, I really think it's okay. It's just okay.
Yeah, I agree with you.
It's just okay. No explanation, no elaboration needed.
And no defense.
No defense. It's okay. It is okay, and that is that is complex for some people.
It is.
It's complex, and I think we're in a time right now, and I was having this conversation with I call him deputy, but he's not a deputy. He's higher ranked now.
Mm-hmm.
Stallings. I think it's captain. He may be a captain. I don't know. I don't even know how those ranks go. But I was having a conversation with him, and he was saying how, the way that he was raised, the way he came up in the force, in the police force, and he's been doing it for, I think he said 36 or 32 years, and things this way and that way. And I'm saying to him, I'm like, the one of the biggest things is we try to have a conversation. We try to make everybody a part of the conversation to fix now and progression. And the problem is there's things that need to be done now, and we have to find solutions for it right now. But the people who are talking about what we're going to do 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years from now don't need to be a part of the conversation of right now, because you're thinking about 5, 10, 20, 30 years ahead, and there are people who are trying to fix an issue right now. It wastes your time.
Mm-hmm.
It wastes time and resources, because if you are able, not everybody's not able to visualize, to be visionaries, to see 10, 20, 30, 40 years ahead. Everybody's not there. There are some people who only can see what's in front of them right now.
Can we talk about Atlantic and Dixie? Oh my goodness. No, and I think on top of that, you can't. Not only are there people who can't see it, but because they can't see it, there's something wrong with your vision.
With you. Yeah.
Right. Instead of just I don't see it.
There we go.
And we're screaming hi, just so you know. And
Sorry, I'm late.
No,
oh my goodness,
no
whatever.
apologies
No
necessary.
real excuse other than a generalized funk, and that's
No, tell me about
what
it.
I'm sticking with.
And I
Wine.
Yeah,
think,
of
yeah,
course.
oh yes. Everybody is now an expert on everything.
Oh yeah, I am.
Good, I'm glad you're here because we have several.
Ask me questions.
We need medical advice. We need legal advice.
I'm on it.
So as you can guess, Sarah made everything that's here, and as you can guess, the shit that's in boxes came from me because that's how it is.
This is what we call balance here.
That looks familiar.
I know. I said Abby left her plate, and I made good use of it.
Yes.
Yes, you did. You got your own blueberry.
Yeah, but it didn't come from Trader Joe's because that's supposed to be a group field trip, and I didn't.
Oh,
want to
how
ruin the
nice of you to
experience.
wait for us.
So that
Nice.
came from I think that was Publix.
Nice.
Awesome sauce.
So I went to
It's all
Pascal
good.
and Kathy because I am addicted.
What is that?
That's that new
the
French bakery. Oh my
place.
God.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait.
Which of course everyone is
This
complaining
looks
about because
so
it's
good.
expensive.
I was
know.
gonna make nachos at my house because I thought it would be fun to eat that on camera.
Oh no. Yeah. I ordered when I was young and really truly clueless as opposed to less clueless, like no. And I went to I had this big interview at Fisher Price in Buffalo. They flew me up for the day. It was
Mhm.
super cool. I felt very fancy. I was like 25 years old. And he takes me to lunch and I ordered friggin' French onion soup like an idiot, right? Yeah. I mean, there's almost nothing worse to order on a job interview than French onion soup.
Well, spaghetti.
Spaghetti would be right
Yeah,
there. I'm sure if they
spaghetti.
had that on the menu, I
Nachos.
would have ordered that nachos. Oh my God. And my distinct memory of that trip, first of all, is the fact that there was a direct flight, a nonstop from Fort Lauderdale to Buffalo that had like 6 people on it because that was before deregulation, you know, so everything was wonderful, if expensive. And it's Buffalo, so it was like January. So I went up at like 9 a.m, went to lunch. As we got back from lunch to Fisher Price, it started to snow. Okay. I had like a 6 o'clock flight, so I didn't have to leave till like 4:30 because again, you just walk right in, right? It's so different. But anyway, I go out there at 4:30 to my rental car, and there's like 8 inches of snow from noon to now. And I'm panicked, right? And they're like, yeah, it's snow, it's Buffalo. Get your little brush and get to the airport. Like, they didn't even, nobody like stopped, nothing was closed, nothing. I mean, it was just par for the course. Yeah, it was very different. It was
I'm
a very
sure.
different experience.
I'm
Anyway,
sure.
we've been talking about, of course, food, you know, and grandparents who farmed and all that stuff. And I'm gonna go have a smoke and
Okay.
let this roll while you guys start.
Yes.
That is, see, and I'm like,
And so
here I
is
am, the
it?
Greek, and I'm like, I don't know, it's pickles or peppers or something like that.
It's pickled okra.
Pickled okra, there we
I
go.
don't know if I've ever had pickled okra,
Mhm.
but I'm
I might
curious
try
about
it.
it.
Oh, wait, let's see.
I am curious about it. I've had fried okra because I'm Southern.
Me too. I love fried okra actually.
Could you hold up the pickled okra, would you, or somebody, please? Behold the pickled.
Oh yeah, it's got some juice on it. So
Oh, I'm so sorry. No, I'll tilt
I'm
that.
tilting.
I'll tilt this.
I'm
Pickled
getting
okra.
some Pickled okra sauce on me.
All right, so I have,
Tasty enough.
I got a farmer salad so we could have a nod to health.
Oh,
And there's dressing
Oh,
there. I got 2 croissants,
yummy.
a couple of quiches,
Some fried fish. It's my southern fried
and
fish.
a little pastry for each of us.
And
That's it.
And what is this?
these are Cheddar Bay biscuits.
Oh my God.
I love you.
I love you too. I love you too. Listen, I knew it's in the air. It's in the air.
I have an announcement. I am gonna just stop working completely and take care of my dogs.
Oh, that sounds like a fantastic plan.
I don't know, like literally, you know, my I have a Chihuahua has Cushing's. He has one med that I have to give 1 hour before food, 2 hours after.
Oh
Then
my
there's
God.
like 3 that I have to give him with, and I have to give him another med afterwards.
I can't do that for my
Then
own self.
I know. And then I have another one he has in the evening, plus 2 more that he takes in the evening. And yesterday I had to take my other dog to the vet, who is now also on medication.
No.
And I have to bathe him with this special shampoo.
Oh my
I have,
God.
I mean, I'm like,
Oh, I
I
can't.
really, and they're both so needy because with the Cushing's, it just gives them a lot of cortisol, and which is stress. So the poor Chihuahua was stressed out of his mind. Meanwhile, the other one's, you know, a rescue and just needy and needy and needy. And now I feel bad because he's probably been feeling miserable because he's got colitis as well as this crazy skin rash. And I've been kind of more focused, you know, on, I'm just thinking he was just being needy, and he probably feels like crap. And I'm like, but seriously, I literally have alarms. Feed the dog, you know, this medicine now,
God.
this
God
medicine
bless
now,
you.
this medicine now.
God bless
And they
you.
have to pee every 2 minutes. 'Cause I told you, Ziggy, the one that I had just took to the vet, you know, they've been crazy since I went on this trip, right?
Mhm.
But a few days ago, and I'm sorry to go on about the dog,
No, it's okay.
peed on the couch, on my curtains,
Oh.
on my bed,
Oh.
and I put a diaper on him, right? Luckily, he would do it in such a way, like on the couch, I have a blanket on the couch, so it was only on that blanket.
Oh,
It didn't
thank
hit the
goodness.
couch. On the bed, it was on a throw pillow, so toss the throw pillow.
Right.
It didn't get on anything,
Right.
but still. Then on the curtains, of course, I have to take the curtains, which is always so much fun.
Yeah.
Watch the curtain, and I mean, it's just, I mean, but I was like, what the heck? I mean, I just.
So I got this stuff. You're welcome to borrow it.
Mhm.
It's called My Pet Peed. I have like 10 different things for animal pee because
Okay.
I just keep looking.
Absolutely.
And this one had super good reviews, and it's very weird. I don't know what's in it or why this works. It does seem to work. You spray it on the spot, and you do nothing else. You don't rinse it. You don't clean it up. I mean, you clean up what you can before,
Right.
but then you spray it, and literally the smell completely disappears. I have no idea what, but I have a spray bottle of it, and you're welcome to borrow it and see if it helps.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I have a black light because
I don't
that
think he's
stupid wall-to-wall
marking.
carpet in my room. I
I
have
think
a
we need
black light
wine.
But
that
my
at night you can look and see if there's any left. So you can also borrow that.
crime scene.
Yes, it is. It is fantastic.
Oh my
I know.
gosh, I love it. Well,
Me too.
he's
Anyway,
not
you're
really
welcome to
marking,
you're welcome
but
to borrow both to just see if there's any left.
I didn't add that my daughter's dropping off her puppy.
No!
Yorkie, so I will have all 3 of them. And I was
Oh.
trying to go to a concert on Saturday.
you need wine.
And I can't even ask a pet sitter to go with all
No,
this
you need
crap.
wine.
I'm like,
You need wine.
oh my God, there's mac and cheese?
Yes.
Oh, carbs, I love you. Serica. What kind of fish is it?
That's why fish.
Swai. Oh, swai's good. Nice mild fish. I'm gonna try a pickled okra. I may not, this may not be my thing, but who knows? Oh yeah, that's good.
Oh, it was one of the things for my child. The only way I would eat okra from
Was pickled?
pickled.
Mm.
I didn't like it cooked because it got slimy
Mm.
when my grandmother would cook it.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's a good wine or not.
We
I got
got
it because
regulars,
it's
and there's-
Santorini. It was a nod to our Greek friend. So we'll see. But it's alcohol, right?
That's not, that's all.
Hit me. Thank you. That's enough. Is it good?
Okay.
Oh, it's not bad. It's light. That's nice.
So
I think it'll go well with mac and cheese. So how are you doing?
oh man, listen, I'm good. I am trying my best to enjoy the moments and not worry about the next
Mm-hmm.
thing. And I have,
Hard, huh?
oh my God. Listen, one thing I can say is that I think I've spent so much of my life doing what everybody wants me to do that when I really say, okay, fuck it, I'm gonna just do what I want to do,
Uh-huh.
that I don't even know what I want to do.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I hear you. That reminds me of a period in my life years and years ago where I felt like I was carrying everything and I was taking care of everything. And this is probably, just part of my experience because I'm sure, my ex at the time was taking care of stuff too, but it just felt like I was the one, the buck stops with me, which is what happens, as you know, when you become a mother. But all of a sudden the world changes and everything, like, ooh, there's a mess. Well, no longer mom is you, you're gonna, but anyway. And then so I'm carrying everything. And then my mom got really sick and I was like, I don't care if the world comes off its orbit. I'm focusing on my mom.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I let go of the basket, hoping that, it's almost like I thought I had a savings account of sorts, like a spiritual savings account, that if I did enough, then when I needed the help, I could draw on that account, but it didn't work that way. So when I
never
stopped
does.
taking care of things that besides my mom,
There's a spoon in there right by the tea caster.
the bottom fell out. This is so, this is like heaven.
It is.
Never mind that I don't fit in my clothes. It's all right.
It's all right. That's why we have all those.
Who
dresses.
needs clothes? Like whoever.
So I don't know if you've ever listened to, speaking of not knowing what you want, what's this person's called? She channels.
Sure, I hate her.
You probably do. Well, this is very different. This is
These look
Abraham
vaguely
Hicks.
obscene, just so you know. But I think I'm on Twitter too much. Tell me these don't look vaguely obscene.
They are a little phallic.
They are a little.
I mean, they
You might want to share them with the camera, depending on what we're talking about.
Let's see.
Corn,
So
soft,
these look, and then everybody will watch.
right?
Do these look like phallic
Abraham Hicks. Have you
crackers?
Read Abraham Hicks?
I think these look phallic.
Well, Abraham Hicks
Now we're gonna get banned.
supposedly is a woman who is supposedly
Wait,
channeling
Abraham?
Abraham Hicks.
And
It's a
Abraham
woman.
is her
It's a
name.
woman,
Wow.
but she's channeling Abraham
I have
Hicks.
half of this.
So she's channeling like this higher consciousness, which is like messages from
Beyond.
like God, but it's if you listen, she doesn't have the same. It's not the God the way that we think of it, but
Mhm.
one of the
geez.
things that she always says.
You want some wine?
This was a nod to you.
Santorini.
Santorini.
From the
That
Cavallo's
was a
Winery.
nod to you, my
And
love.
thank you. And it's not Letsina, which is gasoline.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually
It
good.
is.
We
Letsina
tried it.
is
It's
vile. Thank you.
But anyway, she says,
Cheers
where she
to
channels
us
to us.
and to togetherness and food and
Yes.
the Cavallo's Winery Santorini dry white wine. Gotta show that.
Woo!
Seems really good.
So to finish the thought,
Sorry.
she said, it's okay. She says that part of finding what you want is deciding what you don't want.
Mm.
And just, putting aside the things you don't want until you find the things that you did want.
Like a reductive way of
Right,
looking at
which
things.
is crazy because of the immensity of the world, but okay.
So croissants, quiche.
I can't
Salad.
even with this macaroni and cheese.
I know, it's so good. And I'm sorry, I'm going to have some fruit because I know it's good for me and it's tasty and I love fruit.
I don't know how you're
But
having
it
fruit
is-
when there's mac
It
and
is
cheese on
not
the
as satisfying as mac and cheese. It just
I
isn't.
love fruit. I think it's a good balance.
All right, here we go again, balance.
This is balance. So before you came, I was and it didn't finish into it. I was saying something I wanted to explore from a conversation I had on Monday with this guy who's he's a clerk at the city of Pompano. So we were at a community meeting, and he's I saw him and I was like I hadn't seen him in a while. I was like, Kirby, we hugged, and it seems, I don't know, is it to me, just side note, is it me or is it awkward when people hug nowadays?
Oh, we don't know what to do.
Like, it's
No.
like I want to hug you, and then
I shake hands like this with
It's so
I
awkward.
love
don't
you
know what
guys.
to do.
We
It's
don't
always
know
so
what to do.
awkward. And now people are saying we'll never shake hands again. And I know it's a mess.
You know what? I'm not. I just realized I don't do it anymore. But at the first year or so of COVID, I would watch TV and I would get nervous seeing
Mhm.
people touch or
Yeah.
get close to each other. I'd be like, it's traumatic. We are traumatized.
We are absolutely
And these are
traumatized.
trauma responses.
Yes.
I said to Kirby, he was like, so Evans, he was like, I said, Kirby, you're the only person down at the city that be happy to see you come. And he was like, that's not. He's like, that's not true. He's like, it's not true. I was like, no, but when you come, I always look forward to when you speak because you're always, you're speaking of something of. I know.
Those pears are amazing.
Oh, they're pears. I thought they were crackers.
They're pears
I don't
and
have
they're
my
delicious.
glasses on. That would go nicely with my mac and cheese.
Yes.
So it was like there. He was like, no, I'm always looking forward to when you speak. It's always something of substance. He was like, you come off. Sometimes you come off and you're with a hammer and everything. And he said this. He said something that kind of triggered me. And when I responded to him, and it made me come home and think. And he said, he's like, no, he's like, maybe you could be a bit nicer. And I said to him, my response to him at that time was that when I come to the city hall, he spoke about the fact that he would see me speaking to former Mayor Fisher. He was like, Mayor Fisher would always like smile and say, hi, Ms. Fisher, saying everything. And I was like, and he would see me talking to him, and I was like, I said, yeah, I actually think Lamar Fisher is a good guy. I think he's a nice guy. I was like, I've had conversations with him and his father outside. I was like, but when he goes and sit on that dais, he is serving at the pleasure of the people. And
You're the people.
I am the people. I'm nine times out of 10, I'm not speaking on something for me. I'm speaking from the community perspective because people call me. And I'm not on anybody's payroll to do any of this, but this is intimidating to people to come and speak
Very.
at commission meetings in front of political officials or whoever. And I was like, and I thought about it. And I said, I said, Curry, this is a fight. And you don't have to be nice in fights, And he's like, so I used the analogy of like, it's like what football. There's two teams, and it's once that clock starts to the fourth quarter and it ends, they are at each other's head. They will knock each other's head off to win the game. And then afterward, some of them guys from different teams will go out and have lunch and dinner and enjoy themselves.
It's not personal.
It's not personal.
Well, there's the key, I think,
That's
right?
the key. It's not personal.
And I think that, like, there's passion and engagement and standing up for what you believe in and speaking truth. But people are just so regularly crossing the lines.
Mhm.
Okay, like back to Atlantic and Dixie. You can be angry about this.
It's so good.
You can be angry about it.
Sorry.
But the guy who told me that he hoped that at 5 o'clock that day, in the middle of all the traffic, what he wants to see is my body in the intersection.
What? That's
Yes.
a little personal.
Right. So that is
Who read
inappropriate.
that?
Somebody on Facebook or next door, one of them. But that's where
Because
the
you're
line.
defending the traffic thing.
Right. Well, I'm just saying, let's give it time and understand the bigger plan. And by the way, this has been planned for 10 years and they had 10 public meetings.
But it's still a nightmare. The
It is a
traffic
nightmare,
terrible
but-
on Sunday even.
But to act as if some secret cabal got together 2 weeks ago and sprung this on everybody, and not be at least a little embarrassed that, wow, I wish I paid more attention for 10 years, but to tell me that that's where you hope you see me.
Yeah.
I mean,
It doesn't affect me till it bothers me.
no, but to say to me, I hope I see your body, like, that's crossing a line, and I don't care what the
Yeah.
fight is. That you do
Yeah,
not
that's
say.
you don't play. It's the same thing. You don't grab a player by the helmet. If we're going to continue with the analogy,
Yes,
the little bit that I know about football.
I was going to say,
There's
let's talking
it's
about
a
football.
flagrant personal
Oh my
foul.
gosh.
You can get ejected from the game for
Right.
Yeah, you don't. So there. It is a game. There is, everybody has their objective, but there are rules and there are lines.
And maybe that's the problem with social media, is
the rules
they
aren't
were
clearly
completely
defined.
unprepared unprepared for the
Well,
rule violation.
I do actually think that we know the rules. I think that it's like that, driving along in your car and you think nobody sees you.
Yeah.
It's that
That's a
anonymity,
good
and
point.
we've already said that. But people know how to behave like decent humans, but they get, fearless. Keyboard warriors. All of a sudden and it also could be part of what I'm not saying in my life because I'm too frustrated to say. I'm going to find an outlet here. And is this productive or a good thing? No, it is not. It just might be what's happening.
So, what made me explore what I want to explore is because it's two things. It's two things. When Kerwin said about me being nice, it made me think two things. Would you say that to me if I was a man?
Oh, smile, you look prettier.
Oh, that's the best thing about masks, is I haven't had a single man tell me to smile.
Yeah, I hear you. That touch, yeah.
Like
Would you say that
would
if I
you
were a
say
man?
that
You don't
if I
say
was a
to you
man?
wouldn't say to a man, oh, you would look so much nicer if you
Because
smiled.
Vicente comes down there and when it's something he wants to,
Although with Vicente, I would say, I think many people would say that he regularly crosses the line. And I don't think, You know what I mean? I don't think Vicente gets a pass because he's a man. I think people have that feeling about Vicente.
Yeah, but they don't say it.
Ah,
But they don't
that's
say it.
interesting. That's an interesting distinction.
And it made me think that, like, okay, would you say that to me if I was a man? And when there is a fight for the quality of life and life, is there an expectation of being nice? You know, and I had to sit with that because I'm like, why do I have to be nice? Because to me, it made me feel like you're saying I have to be nice to ask to be treated fairly. I have to be asked nice to get what's fair and what's right done. Like, you're not being nice just because we're in this position to even ask. That's what I
don't know. I don't know. I gotta think about this. I gotta sit with it for a while. So one thing, I was lucky in corporate America my whole life. I can think of very rare occasions when it mattered that I was a woman. I happened to work for people who could give a shit what color you were, what sex you were. You know, they did not care. If you could perform, you were on the team. And I was lucky, and I recognized
that you know of.
No, trust me. I mean, it was 30 years with a lot of the same people, and I know what happened.
But you're still Dawn, white woman,
No.
behind
No, but I saw what happened to people of color. Okay. I saw what happened to, and I think I told you guys, one of the guys I worked with spent 3 months looking to fill a relatively low-level position, couldn't find a person of color, and didn't want to hire anybody. And called me up and said, what do I do? And I said, well, I think at this point, your allegiance is to the company. You've made every possible effort. You got to fill that slot, but talk to HR, and kudos to you for doing this. But at some point, if there is no one, and he was going to like Girls Who Code and the people of color coding organizations, like he left no stone unturned. There wasn't anyone. So I said to him, I think you just need to hire somebody, but you should talk to HR because that's what they do. And that's what he did. But we did, like, we reached out, we did all kinds of things, but I saw the people who got promoted, they were of every shape, size, color, gender, everything else, because what mattered in that company, and every company that was run by these people, what mattered was your performance. That is all that mattered. And that was rare, and I was lucky. And I recognize that. But I also think there is something to the more flies with honey than vinegar. And I think that there are always polite ways to say things that get your point across. That's my perspective.
I think so too. Don't get me wrong. I think for me, I think with the going down to the city to talk about anything, it's been said a million different ways about the same thing.
Yes. So
to say now you have to say it nice, or maybe you should say it nice and you could possibly get it, is, to me, it gives me oppression vibes.
Well, and then maybe
it makes me feel like you're telling me, not just because I'm Black, but I'm also a woman, that speaking out, that I need to be nice. And I'm like, just in the history, what I'm learning and finding out of, even in the civil rights, during civil rights, Medgar and Martin and all of them, women took a back seat. And they were quiet. They were not.
And those men were not paragons of virtue.
They were not. And there were times that Black women who could not speak on issues, even if they had a better way of handling it.
Absolutely.
They could not do it. And I'm really like, it made me feel like, and nothing against him, for saying it. I think it's the mentality that's created around public service that people have to be nice to you. Well, and I don't believe that I don't believe people have to be nice to you when you are sitting on that dais. I don't believe that.
I think people have an obligation, a societal obligation, to be civil.
Yeah,
And that's what I'm struggling with.
and I agree with the honeys, the vinegar. But what I'm getting from all of this, or one of the things that I'm getting, is that it's all right. Everything is correct. But it's all about what filter we have that we look through, and we can't take away the filter. So, for example, if somebody said the same thing to me, it might bother me, but it might bother me for different reasons than it bothered you. But there's always the piece of exactly what Dawn said, of evaluating, okay, where's my responsibility in this? Right. You know, where can I, you know, where am I accountable? And yes, you know, maybe I could, and maybe by taking what that person said, I could review the way I said it, even though I feel strongly that if you're up there, you're accountable to me. But being accountable to someone, again, you can review that. What does that mean? If you're accountable, it doesn't necessarily mean that the person who's over there is still independently of their office a human being and is going to to respond more positively, more effectively, and more to your point, if addressed without being cornered or without being feeling because if you only leave somebody, if you attack, you're only leaving defense.
Well, and I kind of take a different view, maybe, than either of you, or maybe not, but I remember having this conversation. Barry Doxwell was the first political campaign that I actually actively campaigned, stood on the street with signs. I had never done anything like that. You know, and I remember I took the day off work and I was on Atlantic and Federal with a sign. What was super cool, if I can digress like I always do, this woman stopped at that light right there and she's talking to me and she's like, you know, my parents always voted. They were super involved. I've never actually even registered to vote and I'm ashamed of myself. And I see you out here with that sign, and you know what? I'm gonna go register to vote because you're right. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. You know what I mean? Anyway, so Barry gets elected, and I called him up and I said, just so you know, I have elected you, and I expect you to do your job. And I'm gonna go back and do my job now because I have a real job, and I don't have any time for this. Right. So there are things you're gonna do that I like. There are things you're gonna do that I don't like. But if I didn't trust that you would do what is best for me and the city, then I would not have voted for you. Right. And I will not be calling you about any or every or any little thing that goes on. Right. Because I assume you're going to do your fucking job. And if I don't like the job you did, I'll vote for somebody else next time. And that's it. So thank you. I'm glad you won, you know, and good luck. And he was like, oh my God, can you be cloned? And he laughed because I don't believe that we should expect that our elected leaders are going to do every single thing we want. I also don't believe that we should expect that we know more than they do, even though sometimes we might.
Or that we should try to micromanage them.
Well, exactly. It's the and maybe that was it. It's the micromanagement. Somebody suggested yesterday, and look, everybody's entitled to their opinion. I'm going to say it anyway. Maybe they won't. Hopefully they won't watch. This is his brilliant idea. We're going to build an overpass from 95 all the way to Federal.
What is it going to go over?
The streets. It's going to go over Atlantic Boulevard.
To hop over the traffic that they're creating with the
So we're going to make Dixie to Federal the Bronx, basically, because that's not going to cost money. That's not going to take decades, and that's not going to completely ruin any aesthetic.
What do you mean in the Bronx?
So with the overpasses, the highways, and the all that kind of thing, right? Okay, you have a right to your opinion, but do you have a right to insist that your elected official actually looks into this crazy idea because you're a constituent? In my opinion, no, you just don't, because on the face of it, that idea is crazy and it's a non-starter.
Well, what if you got a petition and you had 50,000 signatures?
Uh-huh.
Then should it be considered?
That's a good question, and I again would say no, but maybe that's my own bias, because on the face of it, I already know that that's billions of dollars is probably not possible because of the legal requirements to get easements from everybody, and would destroy the city.
Okay.
So
But again,
But
I'm
that's
elected,
your
but
opinion
okay,
about
again,
the idea.
let me go back to the petition.
Okay.
I have been elected. I will govern as I see fit. And your power over that is to not vote for me next time. And to start a petition to vote for somebody else and to find somebody to run or to run yourself or to do whatever. But while you are in there, do I really have to try to do my job and manage every single person of thousands that comes to me with an idea, even if it's fit? No, I don't. I don't feel that.
No, but
I don't feel
But
that.
I think this is completely different.
Yeah.
I think this is completely different from my experience and when
Right.
my approach to the diet is always coming from. It's always coming from
speaking for.
it's coming from first. There is a debt that has not been paid. And yet there is a movement to build over a community that you have neglected and displaced for decades. So my conversation isn't like, I think where you are is if we put it on an even playing field. We're here. So we're here. So to even consider like broad ideas about a highway and stuff, when we're talking about the basics.
So let me ask you this. Can you give a specific thing that you're requesting? Because I'm curious and I want to follow this down the track.
So yeah, specifically, let's talk. I'll go back a couple years. I for the arts, when cultural arts became a thing in the city of Pompano. I can remember.
I can't stop eating that.
I can remember when I pulled the contract that the city had with the cultural arts company that was programming the amphitheater. They were waiting to open up the cultural center, and they had Baca and Allied, CCC, Aliona, whatever. And there was like a $8 million contract this lady had. The programming in all of those facilities, middle of the road, white America. It did not cater to any other culture or ethnicity to enjoy the amenities in the city in which they live.
Which is totally inappropriate.
Right.
So that you have to fight. Now, again, we got to fight just to be counted in a city that we are also
A part of. So can I say something? So on a bigger picture here, what I'm saying, you're saying I can't listen to every one person, and you're saying if I don't speak up, who will?
Oh no, I totally get
somebody
speaking up.
needs to be a voice.
Mhm.
Somebody does need to be a
And
voice.
so yeah.
And if the voice that Serica is projecting is representing a community and not just Serica,
Maybe, but
you
I
know,
think in that
then
case,
in that case, we do need to listen.
I think in that case, I have to think about if these are equal or not, but I can't give it the brain power right now. But I feel like
Santorini wine.
I feel like in your case, a valid question is, please show me in writing what prevented you from making this more inclusive, because I want to understand. Okay, so for example, I'm just gonna make something up, and I'm thinking out loud.
But
and
you're
I had too
coming
much
from
wine.
a place, again, I'm going to try to play devil's advocate here. You're coming from a place that you are used to being heard. You are a white woman,
That's fair.
and you have, your voice has been heard. She is coming from a place of, we're never heard,
but I'm also
we're neglected.
But I'm also a data geek, so I want data, right? So I want to see what prevented you. I want proof that it was not feasible because I do not believe
even
there
with
is.
data, Donna.
But the reason is there isn't proof.
Right.
So that, but that's what I
and
want
nobody
to
wants
understand.
to prove. Nobody wants to prove that you discriminated and systemically kept a people
Yes.
from.
Yes.
Nobody wants to prove that,
Right.
even in data. Nobody wants
Right.
to prove that.
Well, no, that's not true. I mean, we have all kinds of studies about redlining.
Right.
We
right.
know what it is.
Well, I'm talking
We know
about
what
here.
zoning did.
I'm
Okay.
talking about.
Got it,
I'm
got
talking
it.
about
Yeah,
here. I
got
think
it.
those exist
Yes.
in more progressive areas and areas
Right.
where there's we want to get to we want to fix this, so we need
Right,
to look at
right.
the data
Or-
and be able
Or
to do
what
that.
I would do. So, and again, because this is my data geek.
I'm blocking the black Nissan. You need me to move?
Later.
Yeah, I'm behind you, right? Blue car? Well, both are blue cars.
Oh no, someone pick me up.
Oh, okay.
Bye, sweetheart. What I would do is I would find the data on these kind of events and these kind of events, and I would bring it.
Yeah.
And I would say,
Well, it was good.
tell me why. But you know what this reminds me of is, I'm not going to name names because maybe someday these people will be watching.
Of course they will.
Is when I had gone to the CR. Stop it! I'm just going to hope that stop it. When I had gone to the city with spreadsheets, with data, with quotes from vendors, with it, I had all my ducks in a row. I had a budget. We were giving 1,500. We were asking the city for 1,500 for these very specific things. I'm gonna make them up because I can't remember. The chairs are 700. The musicians are 300. Here's their name. Here's the invoice. Here's every single thing. Will you do this?
Mhm.
And Rex was a city commissioner at the time, right? Commissioner, not mayor. And he looked at whoever the city attorney was at the time and said, I don't think we've ever spent money on this kind of thing. Is that a legal use of CRA funds? Because it was in front of a CRA board meeting, not that when they were wearing their CRA hats, right? Not the commission. And because my idea was, like I did with the Civic Association, food. If you have food and wine, people will come to something.
Mhm.
If it's city meetings are intimidating, they're in City Hall, which is intimidating. So that's why my Civic Association meetings were at Bespoke Cellar, because why not, right? So the expansion of that was, let's have a CRA presentation at an event with food and wine and music, because you got to take this to the people, because they're not going to come here for a million reasons. So it was a legal use of the funds, and that actually turned into the Friday night thing that was at Harbor Village, which is now untapped, because they realized, we can get the word out, we can have a table with our plans, we can have citizen engagement. So anyway, so they said yes. Okay.
Right. Okay.
Oh, but wait,
Go ahead.
a week later, someone we both know got up in front of a commission meeting, not a CRA meeting, with no paperwork, no data, no vendor invoices or anything else. And we had said, will you consider this? We need the money in a month, I'm going to say, right? And we had secured a site. We had done all of that. This other person got up a week later and said, yeah, we need a check for $15,000 by tomorrow, and had no backup. And they said, we can't do that. Like, first of all, we're not the CRA, we're the commission. And with a big wink, there was Lamar saying, in a week, the CRA board. So I knew that if that person came back to the CRA board, a check would have just been written for $15,000, no questions asked. But what was said that night was, we legally, like this, we can't do this for a million reasons. And then what I got from that person was, well, you only got it because you're white. And I'm like, no, I got it because of all these other things that I did.
But here's my point. Okay, the responsibility, it comes down to the responsibility we have to each other. We're gonna go back to the football, and I suck at football analogies. But let's assume.
No, we're all experts
that
at
we're
everything
all-
now.
Well, I am an expert, but
I know.
Anyway, if we're all in a football game, and there are team members who have constantly been on the receiving end of fouls and aggressions,
I get that.
and have received unfair treatment.
I get that.
Which, even though they're penalized,
Right.
for example,
You would assume, no,
even though
I
those
get it.
people are penalized for it, it still blocks the advancement of
I
those
get that.
people. You're also expecting those people who were fouled against to have the presence of mind.
Oh, this person
Okay,
knew exactly
but
what needed to be done.
I'm talking
In general, you're right. You're right.
If we're expecting Serica, for example, who comes before the city to say something and not have the emotional weight of all of the generations behind her,
That is true.
and say something.
That's a
so
valid point.
as the responsibility we have to each other is we need to kind of not take it personally when the words are not put as nicely as Dawn's
Oh no, I
are.
didn't take
Well, what I'm
yeah.
saying, but
But
you see
that's
what I'm saying?
what
I'm saying we have a responsibility to kind of try to put ourselves in each other's shoes.
That is correct.
understand.
And
Is this making
I think
sense?
what we have a responsibility to do, which I did do, was say to this person who I've known for a long
I'm not
time.
saying that you didn't do.
No, but I feel like one thing we can do, right, that lifts everybody, because again, I don't believe any of this is a zero-sum game, is say, let's you and I sit down and talk about how we can do this so that you can be successful, right? And I think that's important. I mean, and the truth is,
Yeah, and
if
again, you're talking to the player that's been fouled.
yeah, but if I were
multiple
to
times.
go to Harlem, not now when it's been gentrified, but 30 years ago, right? I would not assume that I knew how to behave. And I would ask someone who did know how to behave.
I see what you're saying.
Help me do this. Come with me. Do what. And I think part of what we miss is that on both sides.
I think for me, where I'm seeing, going back to being nice, and it is, I have been nice, and it got me nowhere.
And I think that that's an important part of it. And I think it's an important part to say, I have been nice. I'm not going to be nice anymore because I'm not getting anywhere.
It got me nowhere, and seldomly does well-mannered women make history.
That is true.
So and history has to be made in order for change to happen.
That is true.
If not, it's just the same old. So I feel the need to make you, the dais, uncomfortable, because it's only when you're uncomfortable that you're going to learn.
So let me ask a question.
I feel that like I cannot. For McGee, I have conversations. She's an art buff, so it's like, okay, we connect on that level. Let me talk to you on that level, because then you get to see me. So then now when I come up and talk about something else, I'm hoping that the conversations we've had about the arts and how it's such a
you
great
have a
thing.
connection.
We have a connection, that you will also see the human in me when I'm coming and talking about this.
Right.
We have to constantly do that. We have to constantly build relationships, and I get that. I honestly get that.
We do.
I honestly get that. I think when it's the coming to the dais to be nice, not to say that I go in and just say, hey, I'm not going to be nice. I'm coming in from a perspective of, yes, once I've been nice. Two, I also have the data. I'm one of those people who attend meetings. I'm one of those people who are active, who volunteers, who sat on boards. I've done everything that people on the east side do, but I still don't get what is needed for my community. So please, now you tell me what it is that I'm not doing.
I love that. See, that's perfect.
What is it?
Tell me specifically what else I need to do to get this done.
Because then
that I love.
And then there was a meeting yesterday, the commission meeting yesterday. There was a black person who this company bid for the construction to do the Weaver Park, right? Weaver Park. Weaver Park is in the black community.
Yes.
So
it's the one over by where Sharonda lives, right? Yeah,
so,
that's where she had her shower. Yes, I know exactly the park.
So the Vicente went up and made a very accurate point. There has never been a master developer or construction company that oversaw or won the bid in Pompano for anything.
What's their answer?
They didn't have one.
You mean there's never been a black
company.
Okay, because
Master
you didn't
developer.
say that. You just said there never been a mousetrap. And I just wanted
Master
to
developer,
clarify.
I'm sorry, master developer construction company that got the
Of-
bid.
of
So
people
what
of color.
happened, of people of color, what happened is this master developer went to the city and by city staff, Suzette Sybil, who's also a black woman,
Yes.
and I can't think of the guy name who's another black guy who does the accounting budget and
Okay,
stuff.
yes,
I
I
can't
know.
think of his name.
That whole team, yes.
So they pretty much told him, okay, do this, do this. Still lost the bid. Now the problem I have with that is even when you do everything,
Right. So let me ask you this.
even
Let
when,
me ask you this. Because I think that's part of it, but I think there's another part of it that we don't think about. And it's a problem, but it's a different problem in my mind, but still a problem.
Mhm.
Most of the time, and this is not limited to Pompano, it's every city and every
Yeah.
local, federal, state. The people who get the contracts are the people who always got them.
Mhm.
That is how it is. And so let's say I was a new developer and I have all the points for being a woman and being a this and being a the right.
Mhm.
I'm not going to get it either
Mhm.
because I'm not one of the 5 companies that's been awarded every single opportunity in this city for 100 years.
Mhm.
And that's a problem.
Mhm.
But I don't know that it's necessarily because they're people of color. It's because they're not one of the 5. And that's what we have to
Even
sort out.
in
We
the
have to
five,
fix
Don,
it.
even in the 5,
Uh-huh.
if you have 5 over 100 years that has consistently gotten
Uh-huh.
the bid over 100 years,
Right.
and you've over those 100 years also had minority companies also
Right.
go,
Oh no, I
and
think
they haven't
oh,
gotten it.
no.
That
She's not protecting the 5.
No,
She's saying
it's
because
wrong.
there is
But it's
a buddy.
It's a different
It's a boys
problem.
club.
It's the
It's a boys
cronyism.
club.
yeah,
It's the cronyism
Yeah.
that is the real bigger, in my mind, issue. They're both important issues.
Right.
But the
then
cronyism,
how do we do that? Because what happens
right.
for me, what happens
Oh, you
quite
know
a
what?
bit.
You know what we could do?
What?
Sorry, I get excited.
Uh-huh.
We could almost make it so that if you've gotten a contract in the last 5 years, you are ineligible to bid.
And that makes perfect sense to me.
And then you could really tell. The other thing we could do, and they do this at a lot of companies with a lot of things, is blind. I have no idea if any of this is legal. Again, I'm spouting off. And going back to what I said, do I expect city staff to drop what they're doing and see if what I'm saying is legal? No. That's on me to find out if it's legal
Well, I think-
before I present it.
But
anyway,
I think it's on
Well, let's
them too, because first these
But I have
are
to do a
these
little
are
work.
mine.
but I have to do a little work before I do that.
I think it needs to come down to who serves the people
But wait,
the best.
but wait, what if we did, on top of that, you can't, like, if it would be legal to say, must not have been awarded a city contract because we want to bring it, I don't know if it's legal, I'm making it up here.
Right.
It has to be blind bidding.
So the problem we have is on that they have a review board for the RFPs. The
Uh-huh,
mayor sits on that board.
yes,
The problem that I have is that, with these bids, and then I brought up the point that they put this empty resolution into place after George Floyd. The
yes, I
resolution,
remember that.
and to me it says, okay, I brought it up to the center. I said, well, at this point we need to say, okay, did you mean this, or was this just to
Right.
Token, symbolic.
yeah, because
Assuage and move on,
No,
patronize,
right,
yes.
and because in there it says in policy and practices and in the way people are that work with you, like you've specifically outlined in the resolution that this is not something you're going to do in this city. And of course we these grand ideas. The history of Pompano.
Yes.
The history of Pompano says otherwise.
Oh, absolutely.
It says otherwise. So, like, if we're moving forward, are we moving forward in inclusion, or are we moving forward excluding because we want to put what we want where they are?
Well, because, and resistance, it's it's overcoming inertia, and we've always done it this way. It'd be fascinating. You could never do this legally, I'm sure, but it would be fascinating. Let me continue on my fantasy trail for a minute. I would love to see 3 companies bid and switch out the names and see who won. That, like a mystery shop of a bidding process.
Like a blind taste.
Worse than a blind taste. Worse than a blind taste.
I mean,
Trick taste.
I don't know. I think I just brought it up because like it was the whole nice thing, and I'm like,
No, but
listen. First, white America now praises Martin Luther King. They praise him. This is the same white America that killed him, and yet preferred his way of.
But I praise the Black Panthers for some of their ideas too.
No, but I was just going to bring that up. So, of course, I mean, we took the Black Panther free lunch
Yes,
and made it a social program for everybody.
And I praise Benjamin Banneker for being L'Enfant's assistant and having a photographic memory and laying out TC.
I think what I'm getting to is that, when we have people fighting for people who are being discriminated against or whatever, when we have that, to try to govern how they do that is saying, I'm only going to help you if you do it my way. If you say it this way, like I feel that he's Stacey Abrams, for example. This woman, what she did, historic.
She's magnificent, and she's a writer. On top of it, she writes novels.
She's
amazing.
What she did, phenomenal. What she did, but there is also an agenda that how she does things, not being married,
right, all
of these things that's put on her. But if we're being that company that you work with that just wanted production, everybody, you work on your own merit in America, like, does it matter? Does it matter that she's Black?
Right.
Does it matter that she's a woman?
Right.
If you have anybody who can get 1 million voters,
right? No, she was
registered.
amazing.
If you have
She was
anybody,
amazing.
that's somebody that you need to, because
I feel like sometimes we confuse. I'm telling you to do it this way because I know it works. With I'm telling you to do it this way because I'm smarter than you. And I think sometimes it really is. I'm telling you to do it this way because it works.
Right.
And then people take it as I'm smarter than you, and then they get offended, and they're like, well, then I'm not doing it that way.
Yeah.
And that's cutting off your nose to spite your face, and that's what I don't understand and troubles me.
I mean, I don't know. I think, just even now, the way we're moving at post-pandemic, post-civil unrest, all of this, like, nobody knows what the fuck is going to happen.
Post-pandemic. We're still pandemic.
Yeah.
So there's a great piece in the Atlantic last week, maybe. There is no end game. And that's our biggest problem right now, is we haven't come out and said, when can we do this? When can we do this? And that they have enough data now enough to say, like, okay, whatever. When the case positivity falls against below this number, when the hospitalization, like in the beginning, we were trying to do that, right? And trying to use data. And the data is very dirty. This data is a mess for many reasons, but we had goalposts. And now we have none. And that, I think, is part of everybody's angst, is that there is no word from the top about what it is we're trying to reach. And that's a real problem. So go back to the football analogy. There are no goalposts. And you can't have a game if nobody knows where the goalposts are. And that, I think, is part of the frustration with people, because we have no goalposts.
Yeah, I mean, it makes it really hard for people to trust.
Yes.
Well, we've had that issue.
It makes it really hard for people to trust. And then, two, you're leaving what to do left to people who don't know what to do.
Oh my God, yes.
And
that is a great way to put it.
That's troubling, because now you have a bunch of idiots running around
doing all different things on top of it.
And not only that, they got 10 million followers on social media.
Oh my God, yes.
That they can say all of this.
The other thing I read yesterday that I just love, she's a former CIA something, and now she's a Democratic congressperson, senator, something in Virginia. She's fascinating, super smart, moderate, But she said, look, most people did not elect Biden to be the next FDR. They elected Biden to stop the chaos and bring us back to normal.
Yeah, but I'm kind of, he get on my nerves.
Yeah. No, but she was saying that the problem people are having now is they voted for him. A lot of people voted for him because he wasn't Trump.
Exactly.
They didn't vote.
Amen.
They didn't vote for him to be the next FDR and upend the whole country.
No,
And that they're pissed.
Right.
Because they're like, dude, you were just supposed to kind of be a placeholder. Like, that's all we wanted was no more chaos.
Yeah, and it was.
But that's not possible. What's everything that's going on?
I
and
think
what
it was
left
possible.
to him?
No, I think it was possible. What she was saying is, to vote in all this spending and to try and make these massive societal changes, which are important. But right now, again, priorities, what we needed was normalcy. We just needed a little normalcy.
That normalcy. The problem, and this is just been a conversation, and within the Black community is even when there is talk of normalcy.
Well, it's not normal for you.
It's not normal for us.
But my counter to that is, and we just saw this happen in the midterms, right?
Mm-hmm.
If we go too far at once too fast, then there won't be Democrats in charge, so we'll get nothing. And I think that's that is what I think about a lot. And she was saying, like, the defund the police, which I found fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
She said, if you look at what the House passed last summer, which she said I voted for, we passed, was actually providing more funding for training, for cameras, for holding them accountable for doing all this.
But they say, when you talk to law enforcement, they don't want more training.
No, they
don't even think that's the answer.
No, they don't. But what she was saying was, and I got to agree with her here. She said there's, 6 members of Congress, the squad, right? AOC and the rest of them. She said all anybody heard was those 6. And the Republicans clearly totally won the culture wars because the Democrats could not get their shit together and get a message out and have anybody listen to anybody.
But they don't know what their
those
message.
6.
That's one of
They don't know what their message is.
They don't know what their message is.
No, it's a disaster.
And the one thing the Republicans are really good at is marketing their message.
Yes.
They will. They
Democrats just suck.
Yeah, listen. They have a term. They will come up with a term, and everybody say this term, and all of a sudden, this is a term that
they are
saying.
Masterful at it. Well, and that's why Obama did so well, because Obama was a genius at marketing and grassroots and all of that. And what he did was breathtaking. But he was like kind of the last Democrat to do that, and he was the first one in a very long time. I miss him.
God. Listen, I think the normalcy that we're hoping for, I get it. Because believe it or not, I can function in either reality.
Yes.
But that shouldn't be my reality.
I agree with that. I do agree with that.
Like that's the thing. Like
But it resonated
I think
with
we
me
have
what
to
she
understand
said.
that there's not normal. Like normal has to be redefined.
Well, let me just say, let's say this then. Lack of chaos. That I think would have behooved us just for a little while.
Yeah, but
Like
there's
chaos.
I don't know how that could be possible.
Well, I think it could have been possible with foreign affairs. I think it could have been possible in a few areas.
Maybe.
I'm gonna smoke. I'll be back. Sorry.
Okay.
You want to
Well,
give a monologue?
should I do a monologue? Or
You should.
No, I don't
A
have
soliloquy?
a monologue. I don't have a monologue prepared.
Read something from Abraham.
How about
Hicks.
from Brene Brown?
Go right ahead.
Oh, Lord. I got nothing. I think there's no one answer to all of this other than that we're all in it together, and we need to remember that. And I think we forget it a lot. I think we're driven by fear, and fear divides us, and then ultimately we're all in this together, and it's not easy for anyone. And I know that sounds very cliche, but I just keep coming back to it. really don't want to be on camera by myself, I think I might try to turn it off and say goodbye for us for the week. And we'd love to hear any comments anyone has to say, or any you have a solution to the world's problems, please share it. We're in desperate need of it. And we'll be back next week with more food and more talk, and hopefully inspiring more conversations, sometimes uncomfortable conversations. But I think they're necessary, and bringing things to light does alleviate some of their weight. And speaking with people who are different and have different viewpoints or look different or live differently, I think it really does remind us that we are, again, we're all in this together, and everyone's burden is heavy. And it just makes it a little easier if we remember that and we're kind to one another. So I'm going to try to turn that off. I'm not sure if I know how to do it. And I'm definitely going to need my glasses for it. Anyway. Bye, everybody.